And let me welcome you guys once again to our program today. Make sure that you are subscribed and you click the notification bell, so whenever we have a show, you don't miss the show. Because some of you keep asking, Chidi, I didn't get a notification. It's because you did not click on the bell. Today we have a fantastic show for you guys because of the special guest that we have in the house. I'm going to be bringing him in very soon, but you guys didn't obviously hear what I was saying before. I was saying make sure that you spread the message around. Don't be selfish. Make sure that you let everybody know about our special guest of honor today, in the person of Osita Chidoka. I will be bringing him in very soon. As soon as I know that you guys have sent the message out to everybody, so that we are not listening and watching the whole thing all alone. So without any further waste of time, I'm going to be bringing in our special guest today in the person of Osita Chidoka. Osita, you are welcome to our program today, sir.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon, everybody.
Thank you so much. Because of who you are, I know you don't like you don't like a lot of things to be mentioned because of how humble you like to carry yourself. But because you are a custodian of Igbo culture, you will allow me to start this program the way that someone in your capacity should be treated. And for those of you who don't understand Igbo language, you need to indulge me a little bit, because people say when you climb an Iroko tree, you must make sure that you bring down some firewood, because you don't climb it every day. So Iko Bosi.
Me?
Iko Bosi.
Eh?
Iko Bosi.
Ekele kwa nge.
Igadi.
Ife na-emele ife.
Ntwe gị Iko Bosi, twe m nna bụ enyi.
Nna bụ enyi. Mmeli nke gị no. Nna bụ enyi. Na mmeli nke na nna bụ enyi.
Yes, so.
Yes.
Because you are also my in-law, so I need to handle you cautiously, because my wife is from Obosi.
I can't be able to.
Okay, so our video is glitching, guys. Don't mind it. We have a recording of this. We'll release it after. We'll release the better video. Now, Iko Obosi, you are a title holder in Igbo land. You have also held a lot of other positions in the past. We will get to all of that, and that makes you a very, very, very honorable and dignified person, you know, in all ramifications and in all facets of life. I really, really respect and revere you a lot. You're a very, very intelligent person, and you're an inspiration for our generation and to our generation. But having said all that, let me start from waiting day now, because I don't see so many things where they happen for social media. Nah, it be like say you they try to prove say you're a guy, but me, I don't think say you're a guy. I don't analyze everything. I don't think say you dance for Zodiac. I don't even think say you don't chop fresh fish for Mama Ngozi place. So waiting you take to prove say you are a guy. Let me start from there, because except somebody don't dance for Zodiac, chop PCU and Mkobi in some places, that person does not qualify as a guy. So what is your waiting be your own thing? What is giving you the mind that you are a guy? Let us start from there.
Okay, I think you started from the wrong place. If you do from the wrong place, because first and foremost, I didn't start from the fact of me being a guy. Ebe can go where we are now is the very important issue of what is a guy.
Okay.
Because if you grew up in Enugu, you will know that I was a regular in all those places, even till tomorrow. When I'm in Enugu, I'm at Okpara Square, I'm at Emily's place, I'm at Imoraneba 123 Zik Avenue on 6 Alpha or 5 Club Road. So we did all of that. But what is the current definition of a guy? Because look at a generation must always redefine itself. And that redefinition is that we are the post-Civil War generation, those born immediately after the Civil War. In Anya, most people of my age, you have names like Chidoka, you have names like Mwabog, you have names like Osita Ademma. Those names were reflective of the mood of our people at that time. Let better days come to us. So if you look at if you take a census of names that were used in 1970, 71, 72, you have found Nasi Tochukwu, you have found Nasi Chibozi Ogua. So invariably we have a historic burden, and our historic burden is to make sure that we are the bridge between the age. A lot has happened to our society. When Okonkwo came back and things fall apart from exile, he saw that Umuofia has changed dramatically, and he needed to understand the dynamics of that change, but he didn't get it. Once he lost that dynamics of the change, it led him to his early demise through committing suicide. So we are supposed to interpret our society to the next generation. We're supposed to interpret Nigeria to Ndibo and Ndibo to Nigeria. So that generation means that the things that people hold dear today, those of you that live abroad, we're looking forward to the situation where you will be in Canada, you'll be in Mexico, you'll be in America, you'll be in London, and you'll be applying for common entrance for your child to come back to school in that school where you went to secondary school. At least that there are secondary schools in the Southeast that are of global standard. We send our children to prep school. I remember Justice Kavanaugh when he was going through his Senate screening. And the whole conversation was about Georgetown Prep School, where he went to high school, where they said the young boys are young boys of privilege. You know, many of them said their father went to Georgetown, he went to Georgetown, his son went to Georgetown, or many people came out to defend the Georgetown Prep School. So are there other schools, Eton College, all the prime ministers in UK, most of the prime ministers, at least about 16 in the past, have come from Eton College. So why can't we build world-class institutions? It doesn't require as much capital. It doesn't require as much as building a spacecraft or building an airport or building a bridge. All it requires is the human capital, security of the school, bringing the right quality of teachers to teach them, having a proper classroom system, making sure that the classes are not overloaded with students.
So
ensuring that
sorry to cut you.
It's a place where our students can come up to.
So invariably, you're saying that the definition of a guy is not by how many joints you know.
Definitely. That's what I'm explaining. It's not about it.
Yeah.
So it is about what you are able to do in the community. Because if it's today, what is defining you is neither a guy, neither a bond, neither a zodiac, neither a then you know that we're a lost generation. We will be a lost generation. We will leave that for our young people to be talking about, and they did 21 or 22. They can be talking about that, but when they get our age, they must redefine what is guy and what is the purpose of their life.
All right, thank you very much. I needed to start from that icebreaker because that is the thing that is really most trending. A lot of those things were happening, but immediately I saw your own. That just you just sealed it. That was the end of discussion, and I really want to appreciate you for kind of bringing everybody back on track, because it seemed like the whole people were entering into the bush with that challenge. So really Big ups to you. I really appreciate you for that. Now let us rewind and restart by asking, who is Osita Chidoka?
Well, you're now, you made a first comment that I don't like being introduced with all those titles. Of course, I cherish the title Ikobosi. Because, first of all, Osita Chidoka is Osita Chidoka. I don't see people introducing themselves as former director in the civil service or former MD, former branch manager of a bank or anything. So I have the attitude that our past should not define our present, and our present should we are constructing our future with our present. So what is important to me is that Osita Chidoka is an Igbo man. Osita Chidoka is a Nigerian. Osita Chidoka strongly believes that the potentials of the Igbo man and the potentials of Nigeria are linked together. And that link together means that a Nigeria without the Igbos will be definitely one of the lagging states in Africa, even with oil wealth. An Igbo land without Nigeria will only be that our market will shrink. We will have more efforts at spreading our famed ingenuity, our hard work, our uchu, which is the hard work associated with us, will take us more energy to find a market for it, because we are bigger than our geography. Igbos are bigger than their geography. When you hear of Igbo land, you'll be thinking it is the size of Africa. When you see the Igbos all over the world, you will think that we are the 1/4 of Africa. But when you come to a state like Anambra, you will realize that Anambra is about 4,000 square kilometers, which is just roughly, that is you can have 4 Anambras in Delta State. Delta State is almost about 18,000 square kilometers. So if you look at the land area that the Igbos occupy, it's almost maybe the size of Niger State, less than Niger State in terms of land area. So I believe that the Igbos are primed for the African continent. The Igbos are primed for the West African zone. And as an Igbo man, my effort and my dream is for the Igbos to realize the potentials, the inherent potentials of Ndi Igbo in Nigeria. And for Nigeria to become a credible voice in the global arena, which is by making sure that its constituent parts are harmoniously existing in a symphony.
A lot of people now, a lot of Igbos listening now are saying, why is he calling Nigeria? Why is he calling Nigeria? We don't want to hear anything Nigeria again. What would you say to that?
Well, I would say that it is their right not to want to hear Nigeria, because if you go to the United States of America, there are those from the southern part of the United States who still fly the Confederate flag. So if you go to the US today, there are many places in the South where you go to, and the people are still talking about a civil war that ended almost close to 200 years ago. So it is always something about wherever there has been a civil war, wherever there has been a secessionist bid, that secession remains alive. Now, the one of Biafra is like the one of the United States. It has some similarities. Biafra was never a country before Nigeria was formed. And that's an important point. People should always remember that there was no country called Biafra before Nigeria came. So what you have is that Biafra was a reaction to efforts to annihilate the Igbos, to kill the Igbos in the 1960s. So Biafra is our retreat to safety. So whenever you hear the Igbos, whenever Biafra becomes a topical issue in Igbo land, it means that the Igbos are beating a retreat back to safety. It means that Nigeria is not providing them that sense of belonging and safety. So Biafra for me is not a country. I mean, the Bibios and the Igbos were never in a country. The Ijaws and the Igbos were never in a country. Igbo land never had a common ruler who ruled across the whole of Igbo land. So we have no memory of statehood.
So what would you call the declaration by Ojukwu?
It was a retreat to safety. That's what I'm explaining. The whole of eastern Nigeria was under threat, under attack in the north. There was the pogroms that killed millions of Igbos.
But the state of Biafra was declared.
So
but the state of Biafra was declared
as a reaction to what was going on in Nigeria. The killing of Ironsi, the pogroms in the north. The Igbos created Nigeria. It was the Igbos that wanted Nigeria. It wasn't the north. The north didn't want Nigeria. The Igbos created Nigeria. Zeke came in and started NCNC, and NCNC became a national platform for agitation for independence. In fact, we will have had independence in 1957 or 56, but because the North said they were not ready, the Igbos went backwards for the North to come on board. So Nigeria, we are the original creators of Nigeria. And nobody can force us out of Nigeria. We can only go at our own will. We created Nigeria. So when I hear the young people talk about Biafra today, I say, well, that's what happens whenever there is a secession. And that's why I defend their right to talk about it, because it is their democratic right to talk about it. The idea that in the US, 200 years after, people still talk about the Confederate States means that you don't kill an idea. So the idea of Biafra has come. What Nigeria needs to do is to find a way to make sure that the majority of the Igbos have a sense of belonging in Nigeria, have a feeling that this country cares about our interest and protects it. Once that is the situation, you will always find a minority that wants, or a majority in any case that wants Biafra. But that will be because Biafra for us is a retreat to safety.
So what, in your view, is the situation and the condition of Igbos within the country of Nigeria right now? Igbos, or those people who are classified themselves as Biafrans or people of the southeast. How would you describe their situation in Nigeria now?
So in Nigeria today, the Igbos have gotten a very, I will call it a poor deal. After the Civil War, the Igbos have not been treated as if they have come back to Nigeria fully. There is a certain mistrust. Over the years, there has been ups and downs. During the MPN days, efforts were made at sharing equitably, making the Igbos have a sense of belonging. During the PDP days, there was effort at ensuring that the Igbos have a seat at the table in discussing affairs of Nigeria. But under the Buhari government, the Igbos have regressed so badly. There has been a regression. There has been a full treatment as if we are almost like we're being treated as spies, as saboteurs in the Nigerian project. So there is no Igbo man in the room when you're discussing security of Nigeria. And I want to tell you that the Boko Haram from Borno State has levied war against Nigeria for the past almost 10 years now. We have been at war with Boko Haram. Nobody has held it against Borno people. The late chief of staff to the president, Abba Kyari, is from Borno. The chief of army staff is from Borno. The national security advisor is from Borno. We've never held it against them that a section of Borno has levied war against Nigeria. So why would you now have a country which you hold against us? The fact that people say that they want Biafra, that is absolutely their right to demand for it in a peaceful, non-violent way. The Biafran agitation has never been violent. We've never levied war on Nigeria. But the people that have levied war on Nigeria, they are of Kanuri extraction, they are from Borno State, and nobody has done anything to say these Borno people don't like Nigeria. We haven't gone to make that assertion. So the fact that there are Igbos who you disagree with, who didn't vote for you, should not make you treat us as unequal citizens of Nigeria. We are equal citizens of Nigeria, and we demand to be treated so. So if you talk about the Igbos in Nigeria, I will tell you that the way the country has been configured, the way the country has been built is designed to hamstring our capacity to kind of express ourselves. So that is why it is important that we discuss about the structure of the country. the underlying structure of the country. But for me, while we're discussing about the structure of the country, I have a particular effort in saying Igbos can build Igbo land when we elect leaders who are bold, who are capable, who are very well able to challenge what I call the federal government's overbearing influence of Nigeria.
But so, when you even come to that, when you come to electing and not electing, with the system in Nigeria right now, is it even ever possible for you to have a free and fair election?
So my point is, if you go to Catalonia, if you go to the Catalonia province of Spain,
yeah,
the leaders they elect are leaders who support their aspirations. So when the Igbos go to the polling units, and if we decide to sit at the polling unit, elect the leaders that share our aspiration, if whatever our aspirations are, and not collect 1,000 at the polling unit, and not go to the polling unit and say, oh, this is this person's zone and that zone. No, we want leaders that will go and speak for us and defend our rights. Then those leaders, when they get to Abuja, they will know, like the PRP of old. PRP elected members of the North from Kano and Kaduna in those days know that they can only win an election because they are from PRP. No matter how much MPN spent, they could never win an election in Kano. In fact, many young people don't know that the whole story about 12 to 3, that Shagari did not get 25% of the votes cast in the 13th state, was Kano. That state was Kano. Shagari could not get to 3rd in Kano in 1979. Reason? Because the people of Kano were totally behind PRP. Even when PRP candidates did not have money to campaign, they voted for them. So the Igbos cannot, in one hand, go to election and vote for people who they know are merchants of trade, and in another count expect them to go to Abuja and defend them. It's not going to happen. We can't eat our cake and have it.
But the problem is that whether they vote or they don't vote, when it comes to counting the vote, it is all manipulated. You have military men, that policemen with guns, and that you cannot fight. So how can we overcome that? It doesn't matter whatever you vote.
How did Tinubu continue to hold on to Lagos?
How? So tell me, explain to us.
So they go to the polling unit, they stay there, they threaten to burn down the polling unit if anybody tampers with the results. We've seen ACN in those days. In fact, at some point, he was retreated only to one state, which was Lagos State. And they defended it with everything. PDP tried every onslaught to get Lagos. Tinubu defended Lagos. That's why the Yorubas follow him. So we have to start the fight by saying, in this our area, you cannot rig an election. Our votes must count here. When we finish at the polling unit, we will take you to the... That is the struggle we have to put in place. Because we are a people endowed with a natural attribute of fairness. So we need to put in place a process that makes sure that the people we want are those that are elected. So that we will start from saying that this is our position. This is what we want out of Nigeria. First of all, this is how we will spend the money that comes to our area. We cannot be having that conversation with people looting the one that is in our area.
Now,
once they start looting it, it's not going to work.
Okay. Osita, I was really impressed. I read about you and I saw that you were one of the pioneer members of the People Democratic Party, and at the time you joined UPP, and during the past election we saw you I don't know if I'll be right if I say that we saw you facilitating even the travel of Atiku to US. I want to get behind your brain, you know, how you are able to... I consider you a very, very smart and brilliant person. I don't know how you are able to do this. I don't know what it is that fires you, how you are wired. I want to understand, what is it that inspires you? What is it that makes you behave the way you behave? What can you attribute to that?
Well, I will first of all attribute it to to home training, to education at Union Secondary School, Enugu, and the University of Nigeria, Enugu campus. If you remember, when I was in University of Nigeria, Enugu campus, I was Igwe of Kenedike Hall.
Yes, now Igwe.
we founded the Zumunna. I was an affiliate member of Aki Ikenga in the Enugu campus then. And I used to bring most of the politicians to come to Enugu campus during our falas and our ceremonies. And so very early in life, I had become involved with politics of the Southeast and politics of Nigeria. One of my driving forces is that I have a natural rejection of injustice. I always fight injustice. I always fight evil. And the tragedy of our country today is that it is founded mainly on one injustice after another injustice. So you find us all the time protesting about this injustice. But what is important is that our people must learn that the plan to fight injustice is not on social media. It's not done on social media. It's not done by who abused each other most. It's not done by who spoke most. When we fought for Nnamdi Kanu to be released from prison, and I negotiated and got all those who signed that bill, we didn't do it on social media. It was not done by abusing those who were doing it. It was done by carefully calibrating and thinking. So the thinking that we require for our place, the thinking that we require, what drives me most is that thinking. I'm a member of the group that always say, what is the plan? What is the strategy? What is the thinking? Because you have to make sure that in today's world, you factor in the thinking. You don't go to anything that you go just for the purpose of doing it. Sometimes you do something to attract attention to a problem. But most times you have to plan to make sure that you achieve the purpose of what you're doing. And that is why I am of the view that the Igbos are far too intelligent, far too exposed, far too knowledgeable to be the whipping boys of Nigeria. We can't be the whipping boys of Nigeria. We can't be the ones whipping. We should be the ones people are complaining about, not the other way around. And part of the way we can do it is that we have to, first of all, sit down and make our homeland work for us. Once our homeland works for us, and the homeland is working, look at what is happening. Despite the lockdown, and I'm worried about how they are seeing young Fulani and Northerners in trucks come to the Southeast.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that because
let's take it in two forms. Some people say they are coming to fight a jihad. Some people say they are coming to fight war. Maybe it is true. But my first worry is that in the midst of coronavirus pandemic and in the lockdown of the economy, there will be two types of migrants. There may be those who have criminal intent, and there may be those who are seeking for economic opportunity, who are seeking for where to go and work to earn money. It is obvious that despite the years of marginalizing the Igbos, despite the years of emasculating the Southeast, that the first instinct of a northern young person is to migrate to the Southeast to look for economic opportunities for those seeking economic opportunity. So it means that despite everything everybody have said, despite appointing everybody from the north, the Southeast, I watched one of the videos where one northern youth was explaining that they come here to work, they are coming here to look for money. I don't know if it is true. I don't know. The security agencies should act. The governors as chief security officers of the state should arrest anybody who violates our lockdown and try them for violating our lockdown. That's a simple matter. It's not a matter for debate or analysis. It's just a simple matter of law and order. If somebody violates our lockdown, we punish him according to the law. But the more interesting thing for me is, what are they running away from? They are running away from poverty. They are running away from the misrule in the north. They are running to the zone that is the safest zone in Nigeria. The NOI opinion polls do what they call quarterly analysis opinion polls in Nigeria. The zone that people feel most secured in Nigeria is the Southeast. The zone that, according to the police, with the least crime is the Southeast. So the zone that has the best human indicators in Nigeria is the Southeast. If you cover the Southeast, the number of children in school in Anambra is about 93% of our primary school age children are in school. And 96% are in school. 93% make it to secondary school. So in terms of human indicators, the Southeast is why we are looking to go to Canada and the US better than us. Many people in Africa will be looking forward to the Southeast as the best zone to come to in Nigeria. And that for me is very instructive, that despite a lockdown, despite and I can tell you, the Igbos should not give themselves headache. Nobody, no group in Nigeria can levy war not successfully within Igbo land. Nobody can do it successfully within Igbo land. No emperor has done it. The colonial government did not succeed. They brought warrant chief to work. No group in Nigeria can levy war on us in Igbo land, because we are a Republican. We are a Republican people. We are natural fighters. We reject authority that we do not accept. So there is no way of being afraid of anybody intimidating us in the Southeast. It is not going to happen. We've rejected, our Aba women rose up against the colonial government, saying they will not pay taxes. Our Enugu coal miners rose up against the conditions at the coal mines and fought a war that brought better conditions to civil servants. So let nobody be under any illusion, and this is a warning to anybody who is not Igbo, that you cannot levy war against the Igbos. Igbo land is like fighting in Palestine. You cannot succeed. So I don't think Igbos should be sitting down on social media and be afraid. No, we have a vigilante network. Everybody should go back and make sure that their village vigilante network is working. That our network, I'm in touch with the security system in Obosi, and we are looking out for strangers. We want to be sure that whoever is here, if you are armed with a gun, we will disarm you and do to you what we've done to people before. So nobody should sit down and be talking on social media.
I'm glad you touched this area, because that's the area that I want. I know you as a very intelligent person. I don't say it because you're looking at me. I've watched the things that you've done in the past, and so I was going to ask you. You've already started it, but when you put on your thinking cap, the same way you have been called, as young as you are, when I look at the things that you have achieved, I begin to wonder, how old were you when you were actually being sought? Your advice was being sought by people who were twice your age, and you succeeded in so many areas. When you put on your thinking cap, what is it that people of Igbo extraction in Nigeria should be doing now? How should they be tackling this insecurity that we have in our land? People of the Southeast, people of that regard themselves as people of Biafra land or Igbo land. What? Because like you said, that is the topic on the ground right now. Everywhere on the social media, everybody's fretting. We're under attack. There's Fulani people coming in from here and there. What should we be doing?
So I've given you the first one. We all come from villages. We all live in villages. We all live in communities. And if you remember, there was a time whenever there was a riot in the north, the first attack is on Igbo shops, on Igbo people. And one time in Kano, Igbo people sat back and fought back. I don't know if you remember when that happened.
In Sabongeri, I remember.
In Sabongeri. And after we fought back, what has happened? People have stopped trying that. It was no more a regular occurrence. They do their riots now, they avoid the Igbo areas. So I don't see why the Igbos are screaming as if we are without any options. We have options. We have our village local vigilantes. We have our village security system. So everybody everywhere should contribute, should make sure that those young men in our villages who secure our villages are well mobilized, have access to equipment to be able to protect our place. We're able to go back and look at who are in our communities. Are there any new informants coming in? Why are we screaming on social media as if we are helpless? Who are we calling to come and help us with is it the Nigerian police that we're looking for? Or is it the Nigerian army? No. The question I want to be hearing is, I want to see young men saying, I'm going back to my village to go and join the vigilante group. You can't sit in Lagos and sit in Abuja and be talking and saying, let's talk about Igbo people. Who are you telling to talk about it? Who are the generation that should go and fight? The people that are 22, 23 now, where are they sitting? Whenever there is a challenge to the state of Israel, all the children going to school in America will board the next available aircraft to go back to Israel to support the war. Why do we have a generation of young men who are sitting down and waiting for Osita Chidoka to go and be talking about how to fight? No! I want to hear them saying, I'm available to go. I'm going back to Igbo land. Let's go and protect our place. What kind of young men have we grown up in Igbo land whose only activity is on social media? Those are the kind of young men who come when things fall apart couldn't tolerate. That you will sit down and you hear there is insecurity. Are you in touch? I mean, talking to the people in Obosi, I'm asking them, so are there new people coming in? Do we have our vigilante groups? They should stand up and go to the villages. They should go back to the southeast and say, we are here to help. How can we help? Those of them that have IT knowledge can help them bring up networks. We can be able to bring up people buy them smartphones to be able to take video recordings, take audio recordings of what is going on. We should be able to collect intelligence and then say, this is what is going on. Not to sit down and be saying, Fulani headsmen are entering our land. And do they look like us? If you see somebody that is not Igbo, you will know that he's not Igbo. So I'm always angry when I hear people sit down and be saying, talk about this. Who are you telling to talk about? The most important thing I want to see today is the way when Netanyahu was a student in the United States, he was a student here during the Six-Day War, Benjamin Netanyahu. The moment he heard the war has started, he went off to New York to go and board a plane back to Israel. And they said there was no seat on the plane. He had to lobby to get the Jewish embassy here, the Israeli embassy, to get him a seat on the plane to go back and defend their homeland. That's how young people behave. That's how young people act. When we were student activists, that's how we behaved. We defended our rights. We called out demonstrations. We went out on the streets. You were there in Enugu campus. I nearly didn't graduate because of the security agencies. Commissioner Lobi made sure I couldn't enter Enugu campus in those days because he said I was causing trouble about June 12th. So why are these young men sitting down and thinking that social media is where to be talking about what is safe and what is not safe? No, we are equal to the task. If they are criminals, we treat them as we treat criminals. When the kidnappers were giving us trouble, Igbo young people in Onitsha, Igbo people rallied and did boys oye and got the criminals out of Onitsha. When we couldn't move around in Anambra, we brought Bakassi boys into Anambra and we sorted out the issue of criminality in Anambra. So I don't understand this whole new generation that want to sit on social media and discuss about important issues. They have never gone on demonstration. They have never gone on the streets. They have never done anything to secure the place. And they're here talking about what should be done. So my attitude, my first thing is that every Igbo man has a village. You have a community. Get in touch with your community. Look for the President General of your community. Find out what they need to secure the place. Find out what you've learned from your intellect, from your knowledge abroad and everything, and see how you can help to upgrade the security infrastructure in your town.
Thank you so much. Just to let you guys know, we're going to be opening the lines in about 13 minutes, but so just hold on. We're going to take a few questions, but just to let you guys know, if you call, better make sure that before you call that you have particular questions that are precise, and we don't have time for, if your question is not in line with serious thoughts, we're not going to allow that question. Now, I want you to talk about two people that I respect. I respect them, but that is me. I want you to talk about these people and what you think about them. This is Omoyele Sowore and Nnamdi Kanu. What do you think about these two people?
Well, Omoyele, I will start with Sowore. Sowore I've known for a very long time, from our student days of activism. When he was in detention, I carried out a campaign for him to be released. I tried seeing him at the state security headquarters when nobody could go there. And in fact, I asked people to change their profile pictures to stop the release Sowore campaign. And Sowore, I respect. We disagree on some issues. We agree on some. But I respect him for his steadfastness, for his boldness, and for his capacity to express himself within the context of Nigeria, and his effort to fight out corruption and to fight against what I call the elite consensus in Nigeria against the Nigerian people. So Sowore has my great respect, and we communicate. We agree and disagree, but we communicate. Nnamdi Kanu has become my friend from his days in detention to coming out. I went to the court cases and didn't even stop at his own. After he left, we continued until we got the other boys released. So part of the problems I had with the Nigerian state and the issues that sent me, they even threatened to arrest me at some point with EFCC and co, was the release of Nnamdi Kanu and the fact that I was the major person behind that, meeting the bail terms and the bail conditions, at the risk of so many things that the states, say. But Nnamdi has a role, and that role is that he has created the consciousness for the Igbos. He has united the Igbos in a certain consciousness. You must give him credit for raising the awareness about the state of the Igbos in Nigeria. And I believe that his style, my style will be different, but I believe his style was necessary to create that framework, to create that, what I would call the emerging consensus about how the Nigerian state treat the Igbos and how the Igbos want a separate being. So, and it is his democratic right. That has been my point. I challenged the Nigerian state at that time. It is his democratic right. So long as he's not violent, he is defending a proper right and should be allowed to express himself. If in the course of his doing that, he abuses other people or says things that other people don't like, too bad. They could also sue him for libel, or they could, reply to him. But the most important thing is that it is his democratic right, and he must be allowed to express that democratic right. That's how I have always viewed the case of IPOB, and I've always defended that they are right. I always turn up in court in defense of them when other people shy away from it, because I don't believe that I need the validation of anybody to express myself. While I will disagree with him if he says things I don't agree with, so will I stand in defense of his right in things that I agree with, because I do not, most people that are talking do not have any skin in the game. They don't even have anything at risk in the so-called struggle. So they can sit in their social media handles and write what they like, but they have nothing at stake. I have things at stake for Nnamdi's existence. If the court takes a decision tomorrow about his bail terms, I have things at stake, real things at stake, and could lead people to going to jail, could lead to loss of property and huge amounts of money. So I have a stake that Nnamdi Kanu's work is allowed to work within the ambit of the law in Nigeria.
Please, I'm going to come back on, but let me ask you a question, because I know this will come up. This will definitely come up. When you say you have a stake in Nnamdi Kanu's bail release, bail terms, can you help us understand the role that you played in Nnamdi Kanu's case? Because a lot of people have come and they said, I was the one that did this and I was the one that did that. When we have an opportunity to have someone like you talking to us live, we want to throw more light so that we really understand what was what. We heard somebody like Senator Abaribe's name pop up. At a point, we heard Ekweremadu's name pop up, and when there was the issue with IPOB and Ekweremadu released a statement saying after all he did. So could you just throw more light on that? Let us really understand which role which person played.
Well, I will not tell you the role I played. It's a sensitive conversation, and I'm in touch with most of the people involved. So, but I will tell you something. When we got the bail conditions for the release of Nnamdi, I was in court that day, and one of the bail conditions is that a politician of not less than a senator should be one of the shortees.
Yep.
So I went to Ike Ekweremadu, who was the leader of the Southeast Caucus, who I have been discussing with, and I had discussed with about that these bail bonds will come. So I went to him, and he convened a meeting of the Southeast senators, and they said, let the senator from Nnamdi's zone be the one that will guarantee him. And that was Senator T.A. Oji. But he himself was under bail due to his court cases with EFCC. So he couldn't bail Nnamdi. So the next senator from Abia was Senator Abaribe. So they took the decision that Abaribe should go and sign the bail, and Abaribe turned up to do that bail. So that was why Ike Ekweremadu was part and parcel of that whole conversation And immediately after Nnamdi came out of the prison, one of the first places we went was to Ike Ekweremmadu's house to express appreciation for some of the things he has done that we cannot talk about on social media and in public. But I just want to confirm what he said, that he was part and parcel of that effort to get him out. But I've just told you how it happened, that the senator it was one of the bail conditions that a senator, a politician of repute, not below the rank of a senator, should sign that bail bond. And this was the decision of the Southeast Caucus of the Senate. So the day Nnamdi came out, he met with the Southeast Caucus in Ekweremmadu's house.
Okay. Now that we also have you here, another question that I would like to ask before we allow people to call in. By the way, if you want to call in, just keep the number ready. Dr. Erica is going to share it on the chat forum, but the number to call will be +1 647 989 2837. You're going to have only 1 minute to ask your question or make your point, and we'll prefer that you call through direct line. We will not take WhatsApp calls because other calls will cut it off. So get your questions ready. But Mr. Osita, Chidoka, Ike Obosi, now that you're here with us, we want to know how you got the American government to invite Atiku to America. Did you play any role? How did you play that role? Is this something you'll be willing to discuss? Because the whole thing was like one James Bond thing. Because,
like I always say, our lives are not lived on social media. Okay. So when I see all these people who come to social media to shout, our lives are not lived on social media. There are many things about Nigeria that people will learn in my memoirs. When I write my book, I will tell you people a few more stories about what transpired. Maybe at that time I'll be able to tell you what happened to that bill. Maybe at that time I will be able to express what I know about Atiku coming to America. But I can tell you that it wasn't me.
So it wasn't you?
It wasn't me.
So how did you get the impression that it was you?
Well, because I was there. Because I was one of those who were there for him to come to us. I was with him. And it is interesting because there are so many other things that I have been present with. When I write my stories, I will tell the story of how Jonathan came to accept that, make that call to Buhari. I will also tell the story about the day the third term failed in the National Assembly when Obasanjo was president. What happened, why the third term failed, and where I was on the day the third term failed, and my conversations with Obasanjo on that day. I will also be able to tell you about those who wanted to be president in Nigeria, what effort was made, and why certain things went the way it went. So there are so many things about me that are not in public domain. When I see the young people saying, say this, say that, Nigeria, things are far more complicated than they know. But I will, at the appropriate time, tell some of those stories when I'm sure that it is safe to tell the stories. In terms of the declassification of the information I got by way of my position I occupied, and even before I occupied any public position, before I was appointed Corps Marshal, I was already in 2006, 2007. At that time, I was 34 in 2005, when I was working closely with Obasanjo on a lot of things. So there are so many things at the various junctures in Nigeria's history. I've participated in quite a number of things that at the appropriate time I will tell the story.
Wow. You see, I like to speak, I like to talk with people like you. The reason I do this is because I need our young people to see, just like you have said, that it's not just enough for you to come on social media and be attacking. I know I get all these things every day. You know, people who don't even know how we started, what we did to come where. You're just wasting your time on social media. When you see people like Chidoka, a lot of people think that you are 65 years. You were born in 1971. That is sorry. I'm
getting old now.
I know, but I had to say it because so people understand that you, at a very age in life, you have achieved so much. and a lot of people have a lot that they can achieve if they just put their minds to it. I really want to thank you for.
I will tell your viewers. I will tell your viewers something today that they will remember.
Okay.
And that is the fact that when I was in the age of those who are young now, who are in their 20s and 30s, June 12 happened in 1993. At that time, I was 21, 22 when June 12 happened. I was 22 years about then when June 12 happened. And I joined the struggle to bring back June 12. And part of the conversations, part of the reason that I'm very close to the late Dr. Atowankwo, the Fourth Dimension publisher, was that I was the link between Eastern Mandate Union and Kudirat Abiola. I would travel all night from Lagos to get information from Lagos, come back to Atowankwo's house, not these days of cell phone and social media. We were on the streets, security people will be looking for me. The day that Abiola's personal assistant was arrested, I was in Sheraton Hotel, Lagos with him. I just left. Shortly after I left, he was arrested. I used to go and visit him in Enugu prison when he was in prison. So the people that are talking about struggle don't have any inkling. He was in prison. Abacha put him in prison for almost 5 years. People thought he had died in Enugu prison. Fred Eno. He came to my house a few years ago he came to my house last year or last 2 years just to celebrate how I helped him in prison because he nearly died in Enugu prison. Atowankwo was in detention when Abacha died. It was as I had just finished trying to find them in Enugu prison, we were still waiting to see when they told them that Abacha had died. So my life has been a life of struggle. We have participated at our time in making sure that we were not intimidated. You remember, in 1991, we traveled all the way from Enugu campus to Meduguri, to Irijindi Igbo na Meduguri, to confer with all the Igbo groups in the north on how we can have, that's how we joined the Zumunna and formed the Enugu campus branch. So I never sat in school for one semester. If you remember in Enugu campus, we were always on the move. I will go to Lagos to brief the Lagos chapter of people, to coalesce other people when we were fighting the military government. So today, we have social media, which we are grateful for, but that is not it doesn't replace the need for people to struggle, for people to hit the streets. And I believe that the young people listening to this will know that they're not talking to people who haven't paid their price for this. I have the price on it. So when they say how you made it in life, I said because I struggled. I was a student and I was a journalist working for the Guardian newspaper while I was in Enugu campus. If you remember, I used to publish a newspaper in Enugu campus titled DK Scope, newspaper, which I used to print at Fourth Dimension Publishers. I was a publisher of a newspaper and also a journalist with the Guardian. So it's when I see young people today, they think I just came and went straight and became commercial and minister. That was not how it happened.
Anyways, I can bear witness to everything you're saying because I was in Enugu campus then. I was your senior, but I knew everything that was going on.
Yes.
Great lion. Great lion. Great lions and lionesses.
Greatest.
Okay, so the lines are open, guys. You can go ahead and place your calls to Osita Chidoka, Iko Bosi, former minister for aviation. There are so many questions that a lot of you have, but please, I ask you to be civil. Of course, if you're not civil, and I mean get the phone, I go cut you off. So keep your questions very civil. Keep your questions very intelligent. Remember, we are in a dire period back home. So I expect people to be very, very intelligent. I have please turn us down in the other device. Turn us down in the other device. The lines are open, guys. Can you turn us down in the other device? Okay, please tell us your name and where you're calling from. Hello, you're on the line. Hello. Tell us your name and where you're calling from.
Okay, my name is Vin. I'm calling from Toronto, Canada.
Oh, Vincent. Okay, go ahead. Hello, please, can you turn us down? We are hearing you at the back. Just turn it down.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay. You want me to turn it down? Okay, yes, sir.
Yeah.
Okay, I can get you better now.
Okay, yes. So you're calling from Toronto. Okay, go ahead.
I want to first of all salute Iko Bosi, great man. And I have just a question for him. Anambra state election is coming up next year. I believe it's in governance of Anambra. We have preached Akuluno and still preach Akuluno. I'm glad that he talked about it. I want to know specifically the direction that he wants to go regarding that election. That's all.
Thank you so much, Vin. Vin is the owner of. Okay, let me just leave all that for now.
Yeah, move on. Yeah.
Okay, let's move on. You heard his question, sir. He says he wants to talk about the upcoming Anambra election.
Well, the Anambra elections is going to come and pass in 2021, and we're looking forward to electing a credible governor for Anambra State. It's important that the young people and the majority of Igbos begin to identify those people that will work for Igbo land. You know, one of the states I admire in Nigeria is Kano State. Kano State, the young people in Kano always lead the charge. When they didn't want Kwankwanso again, they all mobilized and voted out Kwankwanso and elected Sekarau. After 8 years, Kwankwanso came back, tried it the first time, they refused. Second time, they elected him back. He did his 4 years. And we need to begin to have what I call a mass-led politics in Igbo land, not the elite consensus that sits down and shares position. When a governor is leaving, he looks for somebody who will continue paying him, and the person will take over from him. We need to have a disruptive politics. I think that is what should concern all of us now, that we should disrupt the politics of the Southeast, to elect the people that we believe. Some will disappoint, some will not do well, but it is within our right and our remit to be able to put them out. When the North thought that one person was not doing well, they voted him out. So we saw that in Imo State. I like that in Imo State during Ohakim's time. When they felt that Ohakim had gone against the people of Imo people rose up and voted against Ohakim, which was what brought Rochas to power. And of course, I don't know whether Imos are better off with that, but the important thing was that they expressed their ability to vote out a government. So that is what is critical in Nigeria. We should not allow the elite consensus. The elites come together and agree and decide to voice somebody who will be able to pay off the elites at the detriment of the masses. And when a governor is elected without a mass movement around him, he will not likely go to defend the interests of the people, because he actually doesn't require the people to get to where he is. So we need to, Anambra election should be an election that all Igbos should contribute by opinion, by the results, to make sure that we elect a governor that reflects the mood of our people.
So will you be contesting?
I've not made that decision yet.
Okay, you've not made the decision. Okay, I have another caller on the line. Hold on. Go ahead, tell us your name and where you're calling from.
Yeah, my name is Chibuzo, and I'm calling from Italy.
Chibuzo from Italy. Okay, go ahead, Chibuzo.
Yeah. Yeah, I want to firstly say thanks for your good work and thanks for your channel. Like, I'm lucky to get your course. Like, I've tried all the time. I've tried to.
You have 1 minute. Just go straight to the question, okay? Thank you.
Okay. So what I want to talk about is that seeing this man, I forgot his name, seeing him shows that
Osita Chidoka
he has gathered enough of information in Nigeria based on what he's into. So I want to ask that what is his own opinion concerning Biafra? What is his opinion? What is his own opinion on it? So that way I just want to know, because as a man who have know a lot of things like this concerning Nigeria, he has to have a plan for his people.
Okay, thank you. He spoke about this before, but I'll just give him chance to just touch on it quickly. He said, what is your thoughts about Biafra? I know you said it before, but maybe you can answer him directly and summarize.
Well, like I have said, that the Igbos, Biafra for us is a retreat to safety. Biafra is our safe haven. Whenever we are threatened, whenever we feel unwanted in any place, our reaction in 1966 was to retreat back to our zone and defend ourselves. And that defense will still have an inalienable right to defend ourselves, and we'll continue to defend ourselves. The agitation for Biafra will never stop, because even if you look at the United States, I gave the example of the US, where there was 200 years ago, the War of the Confederate Army. There are still Confederate flags still flying in Virginia, in most of the southern part of America, who still believe that they would rather live in a Confederate. And that is because they don't know that there is a superior race and an inferior race. Okay. So it is the democratic right of the people of Biafra to request that they want a country. And that is because you have to give every Biafran an opportunity to vote yes or no at some point, whether they want to. But beyond that,
hold on. When somebody is on the line, hold on. Sorry, go ahead, finish.
Yes, the more important thing, like I said, is that.
Okay, go ahead and just say your question. But if somebody is already talking, how can we be picking the call? This is the last time I will do it. Okay, just quickly say it. He's listening to you now.
Yes. Could you ask him, is he of the view that Biafra is not of benefit for we in the southeast?
Okay, thank you.
If so, well, thank you, yeah.
All right. So it's still the same question. He says, do you think Biafra is not of benefit to us in the southeast? Go ahead, sir. You can.
Okay. So, as I was saying, so it is like the people of Catalonia who are asking for independence from Spain, the people of Quebec, the people of Eritrea who got independence from Ethiopia. If you go to Eritrea was almost a country of its own before they were brought together with Ethiopia. They had existed as a nation. They had their own language. They had their own currency. They had a different colonizing authority. But Nigeria was a creation because of the Igbos, because our economy is bigger than our geography. We were the people that were very much supportive of the idea of Nigeria and the creation of Nigeria. The fact that Nigeria has turned out the way it is leaves us on two levels. First and foremost, I tell every Igbo man, onye si akpa ga-echa n'ụzọ mụ asịfa akpakọ m na mama acha n'ụzọ akpa m ga-anọdị ya n'ọgụ so that we will ịkpazie m ncha n'ụzọ ka ije nye goal ịkpa m njide gị n'afe. So ndị Igbo ama-eche ka akpa afa na Nigeria, because we are not that kind of small people. Akpa anyị na Nigeria ya n'ọgụ ya n'ime Nigeria first. So whether we are going to, you will have Biafra tomorrow or not, is that there is today, the present, what is happening to almost 140 billion naira budgeted in Anambra, 120 in Imo, 120 in Ebonyi. Almost 700 billion is budgeted annually. How is that impacting the young people in the East? Are we producing the young graduates that will produce resources for us? If we are to have an Igbo land only that is Biafra, without the presence of the oil states, we don't have enough oil to pay our bills. One of our greatest source of foreign currency will be diaspora remittances. How are we preparing the young Igbo people today to be able to go out and migrate to Canada, go to the US, and get jobs in the IT industry that is the leading industry of today? Or are we going to be sending them to Indonesia, Ijeba boy? Are we going to be sending them to where they will do menial jobs? We need to prepare our place. We need to build our place. We need to use the resources that Nigeria is providing for us. All of us know that at the end of every month, every of our states collects a check, minimum of 2-3 billion every month from the Federation account. How have we used that to build up our place? That is an important question we need to ask, because like I said, Biafra is our retreat to safety. If Nigeria continues to be unsafe for us, if Nigeria continues to be a place where we cannot manifest our destiny, then we will, of course, resist it.
Okay, so in a nutshell, you're saying that the struggle for Biafra is beneficial to us in the southeast.
The struggle to make Igbo land work, that is the struggle that I think we should be on now.
Okay.
Because talking about forming a nation has its own implications. Igbo land needs to work today. How come that there is no school where you can send your son to in Igbo land today? All of us are going to Covenant University in Yoruba land, and we don't feel anything paying the 1 million naira school fees.
Yeah.
And there is no university of such equal standard in the southeast. How come that there are no industries today that can employ 5,000 people in the southeast? How come the only industry we have today in the southeast is our hotels? Everybody that makes money anywhere comes to Owerri and build a hotel, or go to Enugu and build a hotel. So at the end of the day, we need to talk about the viability of Igbo land, how we can build that infrastructure that will make us open to the world. I don't think that you will be able to grow ourselves just by talking about Biafra without in isolation of our capacity as a people to function.
All right. Thank you very much. The caller that is on hold, you can go ahead and ask your question now.
All right. Good day. My name is King.
Please speak out louder. Speak louder, please.
All right. All right. My name is King Kusi, and I want to say and commend you, Mr. Chief, for your effort on your channel.
Thank you.
Two questions. I have three questions. I'm from Estonia. I'm residing in Estonia right now.
You're residing in Estonia. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. Mr. Osita, I really, you're a nasty person.
Yeah, speak. We can't hear you. We can't hear you.
I've also been, okay, I'm speaking to Mr. Osita now. I have also admired you, sir. I have actually modeled my kind of personality and how you see things. But I just want to ask you a personal question, not politically inclined though. I want to know your ideological orientation. I want to know your ideological viewpoint. Are you a socialist? Are you a capitalist? Just give me a viewpoint. Who are you?
Okay. What's the second question?
And the second question is about your ideals to Nigeria, saying that we Igbos are the ones that created Nigeria. You know, if you look at it in an argumentative point of view, even the Biafran concept also can actually equate that argument he's trying to make, because it's also an ideology. And if the Hausas and the Yorubas want to say, okay, Igbos created Nigeria, then it's also a call for argument. So I think if you can shed more light there, because a referendum, okay, everybody talk, and what ideology are we going? Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. I'm going to take two more questions, and then once Osita Chidoka starts talking, he can touch on all those questions so that we can stop calling when he's trying to answer the questions. So go ahead. I'll take two more calls, and you just go straight to your questions so that we'll give him time to do justice to these questions. Two more questions. Hello, tell us your name and where you're calling from, and please ask your question.
Okay, my name is Fenty of Asisi. I'm calling from Nigeria.
Okay.
I would like to ask Iko Obosi. First of all, I want to say thank you, Iko Obosi, for the worship media for this opportunity. And I want to ask Iko Obosi, what is the plan for the Igbo presidency come 2023? That is all I'm asking for.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Okay, go ahead. Tell us your name and ask your question.
Hello, good afternoon from Germany. My name is Zebedi Korea.
Okay.
Of Miro African Television.
Okay.
Greetings, Brother Chidi.
Thank you. Thank you.
Senior Brother Chidoka. I just want to chip in something because I have been watching all you have been saying, and we living in diaspora, we have been working hard to bring in foreign companies down to Igbo land, and none of it is working. Like me, I brought in a company that will develop waste to energy. Hello?
Yes, we're hearing you.
Yes, I'm hearing you.
Okay, waste to energy company now from Hungary. It's a car manufacturing company that wants to come down to Nigeria because of cheap labor, and there is no room for them too. And
so, what's your question, please? What's your question?
Is there any way Mr. Osita Chidoka can be able to use Zoom to set up all our brothers in the diaspora to be motivating them to do something for our people? God bless you. Bye-bye.
All right, thank you very much. Chief Osita Ikobosi, I'm just going to summarize the questions so you can deal with them. The first question from Kingsley says, what is your ideological viewpoint? Are you a socialist? What do you consider to be your ideological viewpoint? And the second question is that what do you have to say? He wants you to expand on the idea that Igbos created Nigeria. Don't you think that it can work with the Biafran agitation too?
First of all, I just said I've dealt with this matter extensively because of this conversation. So the first thing I will point out is that when I said that immediately before independence, the North was not interested in Nigeria. They didn't want to be part of a Nigerian state. The Igbos and the Yorubas, the Southerners, were more inclined. Awolowo was not so inclined, but Zik had the great Nigerian dream. And it was that great Nigerian dream that made him to go to run for premier in the Southwest, which led to the very famous carpet crossing. So if you think about the Igbos, as far back as 1940s, the Igbos were already living in the North. And that was what led to some of the riots that killed Igbo people at that time in the North. So I'm saying that the Igbos were the people who have voted with our feet about Nigeria. If there's anybody who have shown faith in Nigeria, no other ethnic group has shown as much faith in Nigeria like the Igbos. We have voted with our money. All the properties you see in Abuja, in Lagos, in Kanu, in Kaduna, owned by Igbo people, you cannot see commensurate property owned in the Southeast by any other ethnic group. We have voted with our legs. If you go to any village in Nigeria, you will see an Igbo man there trading. So there is no doubt that we are the glue that bound Nigeria together, if you so to think about it. Because the people that you find in the Southeast, you rarely will find any professional living in the Southeast and is from maybe even Kogi, our neighboring state. You will rarely find them. So I keep insisting now, Igbos have a stake, a strong stake, they're equal stakeholders. So let me jump that to the issue of the Igbo presidency. I am of the strong view that 2023 is the year for the Igbos to produce a Nigerian president. And the reason is simple. In Nigeria, we have used affirmative action. We have used what we call zoning to help other ethnic groups in Nigeria. We've had something that we call educationally less disadvantaged state to make it possible for Northerners to get admissions in universities in Nigeria. We've taken opportunity of what we call the federal character to allow for the quota system that makes it that even when I come first in an exam, Igbo man is given one slot from Anambra and people are given from Sokoto even when they score less than they score. So all this affirmative action was to build a state. And now is the time for the electorally disadvantaged state in Nigeria to be given an opportunity to run Nigeria, to create that sense of belonging. If you don't want us inside Nigeria, if you don't think that we are good enough to be president of Nigeria, why are you holding on to the Igbos in Nigeria? So I think that the Igbos will make a very strong case about Nigeria and their role in Nigeria if we argue very strongly that 2023 is the turn of the Igbos. Whether anybody takes it or not, it will be like when President Jonathan came to power. The North said it was their turn, and that created a crisis of legitimacy for the Jonathan administration. So we will delegitimize any government that comes if they do not agree that it's the turn of the Igbos to rule Nigeria. We have an equal right to rule Nigeria than like every other ethnic group. When the Yorubas case came up, we elected 2 Yorubas in the 2 platforms, Obasanjo and Olufalaye, and we elected 1. So the time has come for the 2 parties or the parties in Nigeria to nominate Igbo candidates and elect any Igbo man of their choice as the president of Nigeria. Then we can take the conversation from there down to restructuring and down to the issues that are of importance to us if Nigeria continues to exist in the form that it is. So taking it back to the issue of investment and bringing back investors to the Southeast, Nigeria is a hostile environment for investment, but we can sequester the Southeast and make it a heaven for investment. Already, the Southeast has respect for property rights. Our court system is common law jurisdiction. We don't have any Sharia courts in the Southeast. Our customary courts are aligned with the common law system. So I think that the Southeast has the potentials of improving our court processes, of improving our law and order infrastructure. Infrastructure is not only about roads and bridges. It's about government simply replying your letter. A Hungarian company writes you a letter. Just simply replying that letter can help the Hungarian company take a decision to come to the Southeast. Being able to get the permits to work in the Southeast, being able to get the licenses you require without having to go through multiple offices and pay bribes to people can make the Southeast an attractive destination for business. So I think that we have the potentials of becoming that zone in Nigeria that will attract strong business. If you go to the United States, California is one of the richest states in the United States. In fact, they say it is the 5th largest economy in the world if it was a country of its own. But California is able to be the 5th largest economy in the world because it lives in a coastal country called the United States and is able to tap into the energies of the United States to build this place. I think the Igbos can do the same in Nigeria. Like I said, because nobody ga bag chanozo and in that chanozo ka gini me each chanozo ka onye go so onye akpa anya kwuru ebe okwu and let us insist that we need our rights in Nigeria.
So in other words, ị na-ekwu na ụmụ agụla na ofu ntị na ịma tinye ntị nke ọzọ.
Mba ịgbara amụ mmagalo gị straight away.
Okay.
Ịkpara amụ chanozo.
Okay, oh, this person went off. Go ahead, we're going to take a few more questions and then we'll begin to round up, but okay, go ahead, tell us your name and where you're calling from, and if they cut you off, sorry.
Dr. Chid, good evening from here. My name is Chidoka. I'm calling from Malaysia.
Yeah.
Permit me to ask Chief Hoster Chidoka one question, please.
Go ahead.
Good. Chief Chidoka, the question I want to ask is this. When you were the Minister for Aviation under Dr. Goodluck Jonathan's administration, billions of naira were given to you to restructure the airport. What happened to the money? Now it's Buhari administration that is working on the airport.
Okay.
The runways we have not done properly. You and Stella Odua abused the privilege we had. 2 ministers from Anambra.
Okay.
People.
All right.
So,
thank you.
I want you to respond to that.
Okay, I will take 2 more questions and then we'll give the Chief Osita Chidoka an opportunity to respond. If you're calling with WhatsApp, I told you if you're calling with WhatsApp, other calls will bump it off. Okay, go ahead. Tell me your name and where you're calling from.
Oh, hi, Dr. Chidi. My name is Olushola. I'm calling from United Kingdom.
Okay, go ahead.
Great, good job. I just have a few questions for the gentleman, Mr. Osita.
Okay.
First and foremost, he has worked with the government. He's worked in the system and see how the whole system works, how Nigerian machinery works.
Okay.
What does he feel when they go in? We sort of believe that they go in with the heart of changing things for the betterment of the country. Look at the areas he's worked before. Aviation is in a sorry state at the moment. There's nothing, what they have to build is then collapsing.
So your question is like the first person. So he will take your question with the first caller who has asked about aviation. Is there another question?
Yeah, the second question is this: the way Nigerians politicians think. What is their mindset? How do you feel their thoughts? When they go in, do they have peaceful sleep at night, looking at the way the country is, the way the country has been bastardized, the way they siphon money, the way they embezzle money, the way they overinflated contracts, the way things are run on a day-to-day basis?
All right.
Do they really have that conscience?
Okay. Thank you very much. I think your question is clear, okay? Let's give opportunity to some other person. Thank you. All right, this will be the last caller. Okay, second to the last caller before we give him an opportunity to answer. Tell us your name and your question, please.
Okay. Thank you for taking my call. My name is Gordon. I'm hearing you.
Please go ahead.
Okay. What I want to ask.
What do you say your name is?
Mr. Godfrey. What I want to ask Mr.
Godfrey
Chidoka
from where?
I'm calling from Nigeria.
Okay, go ahead, Godfrey.
Yeah. What I want to ask Mr. Chidoka is this. He has made the point about the Igbos taking care of themselves and putting in the right kinds of leaders. But the problem that we usually have is that our elections are being controlled by a central government, by an INEC, by the security forces, and ultimately influenced by the court system. And these court systems are not within the control and the purview of the electorate of the masses. So oftentimes our electoral decisions are influenced by these central forces.
So what's your question, please? Huh?
So ultimately, if our people are not responsible for the electoral infrastructure, we cannot be said to be responsible for who our leaders are.
Okay.
And that's why people want a kind of autonomy, either autonomy or sovereignty, so that we can be truly and totally responsible for who our leaders are and can hold them accountable.
All right, thank you. So your question is about the electoral infrastructure, so that we can keep it short and give the other person a chance.
The electoral infrastructure.
All right.
The control of a central government that is out sometimes not in tune with what we want.
Thank you. All right, go ahead. Tell us your name and tell us. Oh, sorry, we lost that person. Okay, please, Chief Chidoka, 3 questions. One is when you were they want to hold you accountable for when you were the aviation minister, and what do you think about your tenure as aviation minister and what happened with the aviation industry. I am also particularly concerned because I'm from Enugu State, and right now Enugu State Airport is not functioning, and we are not happy about that. That's the first question. Second question, actually the third question is about the electoral infrastructure. I also talked about that before, that we are not in control, and why should we trust a system that we think is beyond anybody's control. So what do you have to say about that? First is your stewardship as an aviation minister.
Okay, the person that asked that question and said the money is given to us and the money given to Stella Odu and myself, ordinarily I will not respond to that because I can't tolerate illiteracy. I can't tolerate what I call just little Google search to see what a budget means. When a budget is budgeted, it's not given to a minister. A government makes a budget. The budget is resident with the government. Contracts are awarded or salaries are paid. And so if there is any challenge with the budget, the person should specify. Of the 4 years of Jonathan as president, Stella Odu was minister, and I was minister for 9 months from the time I was appointed to when we left office in May. So I don't count aviation much in my scheme of things in terms of time to even start a budget and implement one. But let me tell you something about the Enugu Airport. Immediately after the war in the 1970s, Enugu Airport was rebuilt and planes started landing in Enugu. While Enugu Airport remained a regional airport, a local airport, Kwara became an international airport, Ilori. Sokoto became an international airport because they use it for Hajj operations. Kanu is an international airport. Meduguri has an international airport. All throughout the military regime, they all refused to make Enugu international airport. And I'll tell you the reason. The reason is that immediately after the war, what I call the post-Civil War consensus. The post-Civil War consensus was to degrade the capacity of the Igbos to ever make it possible for us to levy war against the Nigerian state. So anything that gives us any access to the world was curtailed. And that was almost an official policy of government. And that is why after Obasanjo, I said I will not support anybody again who comes from that 1966 class. That is why I did not support Buhari, and that is why I will not support him, because they come from a class of people who still see the Igbos as rebels, and anything that the Igbos are doing, they have to be suspicious about it. So during Obasanjo's 8 years, he didn't see the need to approve an international airport, either in Enugu or in Owerri, because in the Igbo heartland, there was no international airport. So immediately, President Yar'Adua came to power. Senator Ike Ekweremadu was Deputy Senate President. He took the memo to Yar'Adua. He convinced Yar'Adua to approve Enugu as an international airport. And Yar'Adua said, why not? The Igbos are the biggest travelers in Nigeria. How can anybody not give them an international airport? Mrs. Njeze was then Minister of State for Defense. No, Njeze hasn't come to aviation then. So the memo was written, brought to him, and Yar'Adua approved Enugu Airport as an international airport. Of course, the politics of his sickness and everything, so it couldn't be actualized. So when Jonathan came into office, Mrs. Njeze came into as minister, Jonathan approved the rehabilitation of the Enugu Airport runway. So if anybody was in Nigeria, you will remember that in 2010, Enugu Airport was closed for so long because a contract was awarded to redo the Enugu runway. But that contract did not have enough money in the budget to pay for the 15%. So the due process office said they will not approve that contract unless there is funding. So again, Senator Ekweremadu rallied all the Southeast senators and the Southeast legislators. They all agreed that they will bring their constituency project and put it together for Enugu Airport rehabilitation, for the runway rehabilitation. So when it was time for that, all the Southeast senators volunteered their constituency projects. At the time of implementation, can you put that phone on pause? It's noisy.
Yeah. Sorry. I'm going to do that. Sorry.
Yes.
Guys, I've told you, please hold on with your call.
Reduce the volume
After
of the
he
engine.
answers, then we'll...
And I have to leave after this, so you have to put down the calls.
Yeah.
So
okay.
So what happened was Senator Ekweremadu rallied the Igbo senators and House of Rep members, and they all came together and volunteered their own constituency allowances. In doing that, the money came up to 10%. Then the due process office said that they will cut the contract down to the amount that falls for the 15% they've contributed, so that they can go through for approval at the Federal Executive Council. So I said, when the project starts and when a new budget is made, we can then now come back for re-evaluation of the project. So the project started. Now, what is the problem? The project has started with a lot of work to excavate so many meters down and put a layer that will make sure that Enugu has high water table, which is why water seeps up from under to get to the pavement. So what happened was that when Mrs. Njeze was then minister, the contract was awarded initially for 4-point-something billion naira to just redo the runway. So Enugu Airport was closed. While they were redoing it, of course, there were many issues about the water level in Enugu. But because of the change in minister, a new minister now came. The minister that followed up on that contract was a Yoruba minister then, Omotoba, who followed up on the contract. After Omotoba, then came our sister, Stella Odua. So what am I explaining? The Enugu Airport project, when it was now done, was not done to specification because there was not enough funding at that time in the budget. And they needed to do two things to open back the airport, because what they needed to do was below. If they don't do it, then they can't lay the asphalt overlay. But because of the pressure to reopen the airport, they went ahead and finished it. The airport was then revalued and it was finished. And Enugu Airport was reopened. But we didn't stop at that. Immediately Jonathan came to power. Jonathan went ahead and implemented the approval for Enugu Airport to become international by giving Ethiopian Airlines the slot to start landing in Enugu. This was the first time an international flight landed in the area that was Biafra since after the Civil War. The last international flight was the one that took Ojukwu out to Cote d'Ivoire. The next time a flight landed in Igbo land from outside of Nigeria was during Jonathan's time. It was a significant moment for Igbo. So Stella Odua awarded the contract for the rehabilitation of the airport building, and then went ahead to get the Chinese to fund 4 new airports for Nigeria. The airport was Lagos Airport, Abuja Airport, Kano Airport, and Port Harcourt. She included Enugu. The Chinese said that Enugu is not yet a functioning international airport and does not have the traffic to pay back the loan. So they will do only these 4. Now, they did the 4 for 500 million. Mrs. Stella Odua went back to Jonathan and got an approval to use the budgetary resources of the Ministry of Aviation to build a new terminal for Enugu. So that terminal that you see in Enugu built by CECC is paid for from the budget. This was what Mrs. Stella Odua extracted from Jonathan for the Southeast. That was why a brand new terminal is in Enugu now. That terminal that you see when you land in Enugu was built from the resources of the government. In fact, she got the money from the security vote of the president to build that terminal for Enugu. So while the Chinese could not fund Enugu because it was not an active international airport, there was no dollar earnings. Mrs. Stella Odua got approval to build the same CECC, to build the same quality of building they did in Port Harcourt, to repeat it in Enugu at budgetary expense. So when people ask, what did the Igbo elites do? What happened was that that 2010 work on the runway, water was seeping in from under the ground, and that water led to the unbinding of the asphalt, meaning that when planes land with heavy load, sometimes it leads to stone detaching from the pavement. So what the government is doing in Enugu now is they are now going back to that 2010 contract and awarding it to do that pavement underground work that was not done in 2010. That is what they are doing today. And it will go together with the new terminal that Mrs. Odua started, which I continued when I became minister, which is now almost completed to become the new Enugu International Airport. So we got Emirates, we got other international airlines. In fact, the license I gave to Air Peace was to make Enugu their international hub so that he will begin to fly Enugu to China, Enugu to Dubai. That is the plan. I gave him the permit to do all these international routes he's doing. So when Nigerians talk about the Igbos and this, starting from the Ekweremadu getting the approval for that international airport, to bring in their constituency project. In fact, when it was time to bring the constituency project, other Igbo state legislators backed out. Enugu state legislators brought in their own percentage. That was why they didn't get enough money to get a 10 billion naira contract at that time. It was Enugu state legislators that contributed their constituency project to the Enugu International Airport runway rehabilitation. So it is not true, as people say, what was done at that airport. A lot was done at that airport, and that airport remains an example of the strength of the character of the government of the people in the government of President Jonathan.
Okay. Finally, the electoral infrastructure in Nigeria, when we're talking about elections and voting and participating, I said it before that I don't think we have control of that electoral process, and somebody is asking, what do you think about it? Why do you have confidence that we should still try to be part of that electoral process?
Well, I've answered the question that in the North, you see them routinely voting out PDP and voting in CPC, even in the days of only CPC, when they had no infrastructure. At the time when Buhari had no infrastructure, he used to win his 10 million to 6 to 11 million votes in the North. Why can't we replicate that in the Southeast? We elect Abga in Anambra State. Abga has been in power now for 16 years in Anambra State. So I don't agree with those who I said are eternal criers and people who just comment on social media. The social media has its importance, but the important thing is the action. If we do what Tinubu did in Lagos, if we do what the people of Kano do during the elections, nobody will come to Igbo land and play with us. If we are serious that we want to show that we are a different set of Nigerians, we should be able to stand in our polling unit, and even the soldiers will back down when they see the strength of our character. So Anambra State has been voting Abga. Nobody has, APC or PDP has not been able to upstage Abga in Anambra. So there is no reason why other Igbo states cannot stand by the electoral process. The challenge we have is that all of us that are educated and elite shy away from the electoral process. We sit in our house and talking about staying away, talking about boycott. By the time in the next 4 years, people that are 30 now will be 35. The people that are in elementary in JS1 will be in SS1 and SS2. And meanwhile, the government have not been able to give them quality education. What skills will they have to function after they finish from secondary school? So what is important for us now is that the Igbos must rise up. First thing we must show is that elections in our place, we control it. Our people will stand. All of us that are educated and talking about how to rephrase Nigeria should go back to our polling unit, make sure it is counted, make sure it is recorded. That's how Tinubu got Lagos and is keeping Lagos. Nobody has dared go to Lagos to upstage them in Lagos because he knows that he has mobilized his people strongly to fight for what is right. So let us stop living in that world where we sit down and say, oh, the government controls the election. Have you forgotten that ACN collected 2 states from PDP from the courts? Even the courts you are talking about. Tinubu used the courts to collect Osun State from PDP, used it to collect Ondo State from PDP. Adams Oshomole used the courts to get from Labour Party to collect Edo State from PDP. So we have no reason, we have no excuse. Peter Obi used the court to get it back from Andy Uba in 2007. We have no excuse. We need to just mobilize and keep our eyes on the prize.
All right. I have someone asking. Let's go to our chat room and just get one question. Someone said, can IPOB be unlisted as a terrorist group? What do you think about IPOB being listed as a terrorist group? And is there anything that can be done to have IPOB unlisted as a terrorist group?
It's an illegal action. We have challenged it in court. The court process is on. That action by the federal government is not is totally unacceptable, is rejected. IPOB is not a terrorist group, cannot be a terrorist group, will not be a terrorist group because they are only agitating for their democratic rights. So we reject that description of IPOB as a terrorist group, and we believe that the Nigerian courts in due time, without intimidation of the current government, will give the proper judgment to reverse that illegal action of the Attorney General.
Thank you so much. I know the calls are still coming in, but guys, we have to stop here. Chief Osita Chidoka has really been gracious to give us out of his precious time at this time, and we don't want to abuse it. On behalf of all our subscribers, all our listeners, and all of you who called in, I really want to thank you, Iko Bosi, for making our time to come and be with us. Thank you for doing justice to every question that we asked you, no matter how uncomfortable it was. When next we call upon you, we ask that you please honor us by answering to our call. Please, thank you so much. And I want you to just, in a few minutes, speak to our people, address our people before we close the show.
Well, my last word is, I keep saying it, the Igbos cannot be afraid of competition. The Igbos are not afraid of competition. Akpagi, achakwana n'ụzọ. Akpagi isiwe ọnwụ there. Make sure na onye akpagi na-ekwusịrị ya from going to ije go. Akwetara m na akpagi ịcha n'ụzọ. Achakwana n'ụzọ. Anyị ama agba ọsọ. We are global citizens. The Igbos of the world are here. We occupy positions. We are the major remittance source of diaspora remittance in Nigeria. And we should, and as I keep saying, we should work hard to rebuild our homeland. And we have to start from there. For all our brothers, all our people across the world, I'm just saying, the Igbos are a magnificent people. Manakai welu n'uche. Ife eji malụ ndị Igbo, we are known for uche. Kai welu uchu. Ndị Igbo niile, ụwa niile mana ndị Igbo welu uchu. We are hardworking people. And kai welu egwu Chukwu. Tinye n'ife anyị na-eme. So na ife na-agwa ndị Igbo tata bụ na anyị welu uche. Tinye ya uchu.
Thank you so much, Iko Bosi. Iko Bosi.
Yeah.
Iko Bosi.
Yeah.
Iko Bosi.
Yeah.
Aha. Nalo. Thank you so much. Thank you very much.
Ife ga-abala anyị ulu, ọ dị naanị, oge epuo. Ife ga-abala ndị Igbo ulu, ọ dị naanị opuo ome. Ọ dị na ose n'enu.
ise
ọ dị n'ezigbo iru olu anyị nso ọ dị n'azụ ọbịa anyị n'iru
ise
agbụrụgba ọ na-akọ n'oke osisi
ise
ndị ekene m
daalụ daalụ
daalụ.
bye bye. All right, that was Ike Obosi Osita Chidoka, who has graciously agreed to be our guest today, and we thank him for honoring our request to be on the program, and we thank all of you. Always remember that what we are trying to do is to be able to bring as many diverse opinions and views as possible on our show, so that to help us to really understand where we're going, because sometimes when you are looking at things from only one direction, you may not be fully convinced that where you're going is the proper place. But when you're given a lot of options, then you may actually be able to be fully convinced that the place you're going is the place that you ought to be going. I want to advise you not to be the kind of person who rejects every idea that does not fall in line with what you believe. No. Give a chance to other ideas, listen, and then be able to form your opinion, so that when you finally form your opinion, you are sure of what you're doing. Our purpose here is never to bring anybody down. Our purpose here is not to come against anybody. That is what people of the world are. It's not just Igbo people. I said it recently that I've been focusing on my roots, and that's what I'll be doing in the days and the weeks to come. I want to focus on my roots, because I see that there is the importance to really start from home and then build up. They say charity starts from home. I see that my people are just like the Bible said, people perish for lack of knowledge. So it is important that we expose our people to the right knowledge. We are also going to be having tomorrow, I'll put that up, someone that you requested that we bring on our show. We're going to bring Mr. Magnus to our show, and the flyer will be out, and we'll put the information out there, and he'll be on our show on Thursday, not tomorrow. On Thursday, he'll be on our show on Thursday, and we are hoping to also bring Asari Dokubo to come on our show. We will also want to bring Nyanwodo to come on our show. We're going to bring in as many leaders in Igbo land, in Biafra land, to come and air their views, because we believe that what's important at the end of the day is that we find a common ground to be able to present our case, to be able to pursue what it is that we are pursuing in Igbo land. If it is good for us, it will be good for everybody. However, which way we get that thing that we are looking for in Igbo land, in Biafran land, and even within the citizens of Nigeria, because what is good for the geese is good for the gander. And so from all of us here in the Toronto studios of Worship Media, Dr. Chidi and Dr. Erica, and rest of all of you who assist us with technicalities all over the place, it is me saying I truly, really love you. Mwah. Don't forget to subscribe. If you don't subscribe this time around, if you don't subscribe and click on that notification bell, you see that one just some down there, if you don't do it, nothing will happen to you.